Hey friends, how are you doing today from Lansing, Michigan? I'm going to show you around how this beautiful city looks like. This is my new home for Youth and Education Support Service Ethiopia. For Yes Ethiopia, if you want to see, I'm sitting here ready to drive together. Let's visit the town, and at the same time we're also going to listen to the radio. There you go.
The first time two Fed governors have dissented on a rate decision in more than 30 years. So some might see that as a sign that Powell is struggling to maintain consensus on the committee, but the Fed chairman says this vigorous debate is healthy.
It's probably not surprising that there would be differences and different perspectives. What you hope is that people explain their positions very thoughtfully and clearly, and we absolutely had that today, all the way around the table. I would call it one of the better meetings I can recall.
Waller, by the way, is one of the people who's been talked about as a possible replacement for Powell when the Fed chairman's term expires next year.
Interesting. Now, there was some other economic news today. The Commerce Department says the U.S. economy grew this spring. That was after a slowdown earlier this year. What do those numbers show us?
Yeah, GDP grew at an annual pace of 3% in April, May, and June, which was a rebound from the first 3 months of the year when the economy contracted. Both those figures are somewhat distorted, though, by a big swing in imports. Imports surged in the first quarter of the year as businesses tried to stockpile foreign goods before the Trump tariffs took effect, and then imports later dropped during the spring as those double-digit taxes kicked in. When government number crunchers measure GDP, they subtract imports. So that made the numbers look artificially bad in the first quarter and artificially good in the second. If you average it all out, the U.S. economy grew at an annual pace of about 1.25% in the first 6 months of the year, which is okay, but it's less than half the economic growth we enjoyed in each of the last 2 years.
NPR's Scott Horsley, thanks for crunching all those numbers.
You're welcome.
The Earth saw one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded early today, 8.8 magnitude off the coast of far eastern Russia. It sent walls of water, tsunamis, across the Pacific Ocean, traveling at the speed of jumbo jets. The water eventually reached several feet above normal in places including Hawaii, Alaska, and the West Coast. But earlier today, the last tsunami warnings in the U.S. were downgraded to tsunami advisories. Now, that is some relief, but a question remains, is the U.S. ready for a major earthquake or tsunami? Kit Miyamoto is a structural engineer who specializes in earthquake resiliency. He joins me now. Mr. Miyamoto, welcome.
Thank you.
So you're in California now. Tell me where exactly and what today has been like.
Well, I'm here in LA, and LA is far enough from an epicenter, and so therefore we had the certain advisory for a little while, but now it's not issue here anymore. But advisories do exist in the northern coastline of the California.
Let me circle back to the question that I posed as I was introducing you. Happily, the warnings have been downgraded now for a major tsunami, but would the West Coast be ready in a worst-case tsunami scenario?
We're not. See, and we have the large subduction zone, which is essentially the fault line is capable to rupture in a large earthquake like that one, and along the coastline of that Northern California to the Oregon to Washington. Okay, and when the ruptures, it does happen in the past, and it does cause a large tsunami like what we saw in Japan in 2011, which tsunami height exceeding 10 meters and 15 meters, and destroyed the many cities, and it killed about almost 20,000 people.
Yeah,
and that could happen here.
Yeah. You saw Japan just after that 2011 horrific event in which, as you noted, close to 20,000 people died. Were there lessons learned? Are there lessons you take away from that event that we should be applying?
See, Japan is probably 100 times more prepared than we were. They spent a lot of money for the warning system and also evacuation drills and tsunami walls, the sea walls throughout the whole coastline. And so that really saved a lot of people. Without that, they probably lost not 20,000 people, but 2 million people.
What would being prepared look like?
Well, I think most important thing is and the cheapest thing we can think about is a good warning system and training and drill and how to react to it. Right now, we just don't have that robust warning system. If I felt like a large earthquake, I would evacuate to the higher ground. Higher ground doesn't have to be climbing the mountains. It can be robust, like concrete apartment, structures, office buildings, go up to 4th level, 5th level, and then you're clear, you're fine. And I saw many people save themselves like that in Japan also, And secondly, driving a car is a bad idea. If there's any traffic jam, just abandon the car away from the traffic. Don't clog the roads, and just run to higher places. And many people die in Japan because of traffic jam. That is like the worst thing you can imagine.
Kit Miyamoto, his firm provides seismic engineering and disaster resilience services. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
The word dude is often associated with the 80s, but it's abided for much longer. As part of our Word of the Week series, here's NPR's Kat Lonsdorf. As a child of the 80s and 90s, I was practically raised on dude.
Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude? Focus, dude. I'm the dude.
But dude, with all of its chill, laid-back, white Russian drinking vibes, has an origin story that doesn't quite match. Let me explain, or rather, let me bring in Gerald Cohen.
Dude turned out to be one of the great mysteries of etymology.
He's a professor at Missouri University of Science and Technology who recently wrote a book on dude. He says it seems to have been coined in reference to a particular group of young men in New York City in the late 19th century.
They were young, they were vacuous.
And they had a certain way of dressing, over the top and fancy, with capes and coats, neckties and tall boots. Think hipsters of the 1880s. Eventually, these men became known as dudes, likely in reference to Yankee Doodle, who, as the old war song goes, was an unsophisticated American who essentially dressed up to appear high society. Cohen and two other scholars trace the origin of the term to an 1883 poem titled The Dude, written by a man named Robert Hill.
It's over the top. I mean, he is not only making fun of the dudes, he is absolutely denouncing them.
But that poem had the opposite effect.
It caused a social craze.
Being a dude became a full-blown style, with men in New York City competing to outdress each other. The term then moved west as East Coast city men started visiting cattle ranches, often dressed in expensive cowboy attire, earning the nickname dude. So ranches started to advertise themselves as dude ranches, and the name stuck.
And then you pick it up in the mid-20th century.
That's Scott Kiesling. He's a linguistics professor at the University of Pittsburgh who has also studied the word dude. Kiesling says by then, the word dude had traveled further across the country, making its way to the zoot suit wearing crowd.
They're really a sight to behold.
Mostly worn by men of color at the time.
They started to be called dude by people.
And those men took the word and made it their own.
And then it became this marker of solidarity and connection.
Less about style and more about male kinship, which is when the California skaters and surfers got a hold of it.
That's where it sort of is when it starts to get hit by the media.
Dudes, you guys are gonna go back in time.
You got it, dude.
Bringing us back to the 80s and 90s and today. Kiesling says even with other words like bro and man and even girl coming into the mix,
Dude is still the most used.
rock on, dude.